Hey everybody, Mark here. Today I'm going to talk about a couple techniques that we use during mastering, specifically limiting and compression. Now I always say that in mixing you don't want to use any unnecessary over-compression because that kind of over-processing will translate to a lifeless and smaller sounding master. But when we get to the mastering process, we have to apply limiting and compression to get things louder and in many times enhance the sound of the music. Currently I'm working on a project that was produced and written by Colormind. Now, one of the goals of mastering and using limiting and compression is loudness. Remember, that's just one aspect of it. We also want it to sound good. Now, I normally choose not to use one, but two limiters. So you're going to see that I use something in my mastering chain called the Ozone 9 Maximizer. Now, that's going to allow me to get loudness, but I also want to listen and make sure that what I'm doing serves the music. There's two really important aspects to my limiter. There's my threshold, and then there's my ceiling. Now, most limiters for mastering have a function in them called auto makeup gain. So when I turn my threshold down, I'm immediately going to hear the loudness go up. As I'm doing this, we're also going to see something called gain reduction, or the amount of limiting that's happening on my master. The ceiling is going to allow us to protect ourselves from clipping. It's going to make it so that the music doesn't go over a certain peak value. I have mine set to -1 true peak. True peak is going to ensure that there's absolutely nothing going over the value that's set. If you don't have true peak set, there's more than likely a possibility that your signal is going to go hotter than what it says on the ceiling. I always recommend using true peak if your goal is to master at a certain peak level. Now you'll notice that as I bring my threshold down, the sound is going to get louder, but also as I look at my LUFS meter, my LUFS value is going to go up. The hope is that with my ceiling set to -1, my mix doesn't go any hotter than -1 true peak. There are times where I will see it go about 0.1 or 0.2 dB over, and I will just adjust my ceiling so that on my metering, it shows -1 true peak. Now I generally use not one, but two limiters on my mastering. And I do this because I want to split the work between the two limiters. So my first limiter has a ceiling set to 0. My second limiter has the ceiling set to the -1 true peak. Now you'll notice that I adjust both limiters independently. So I'm just listening and just seeing how I can get the maximum loudness without as many negative artifacts as possible. So what are negative artifacts? Negative artifacts are just anything that doesn't serve the track. It's anything that sounds bad. Remember, every genre is different and every piece of music is different. So the settings are going to be different for every master. Something you also want to keep in mind are attack and release times. Now, I generally leave my attack times alone, but my release times can vary. Slower release times will give you more transparent sounding limiting, but faster release times may give you a better sense of aggression or maybe even help you get a slightly louder master. Either way, you have to listen because if you do too fast of a release time, you may create unnecessary distortion. Another function that I like on the Ozone 9 Maximizer is transient emphasis. Now this allows me to increase the punch of my master if I need, but I only do it if I need it, and again, it could also create unnecessary distortion. So besides limiting, I love using compression in my masters. I'll be honest, I use less compression than limiting almost every single time. I use compression in a mode called mid-side compression. Now I do this because I like to emphasize the middle of the mix more than the wideness of the mix. So let me show you what I do. So I take the compressor and I make sure it's in mid-side mode. And then I increase the input so that way I'm hitting my threshold harder. It's going to make the middle of my mix louder and it's going to start gluing together those elements of the mix as well. Now what I'll generally do is I'll make this compress hard enough to where I start hearing distortion, and then I'll back off the mix wet dry. Now notice when I do this, I'm going to go all the way to 0%, and you're going to hear the compressor completely off. Notice how the mix sounds a little bit bigger and a little smoother. But as I bring the percentage up and start introducing some of the mid-side compression, you're going to hear the middle of the mix become more forward, but I'm only going to do it enough to where it works for me. I'm not going to overdo it to 100%. Again, every master is different. So I might do this more aggressively for certain masters, I might do it less for others, or I might not need it at all. It all just depends on what the music is telling me to do. So remember, using limiting can help us get things louder, but we also have to pay attention to sound quality and how it serves the music. Compression can also help us alter the way that the music has impact, but we always want to make sure that it serves the music as well. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Check out my website at markberrymusic.com and also check out some awesome music and other great content at colormindmusic.com. And right now, click the link below and you can get 60% off on his pop guitar sample pack. Keep making great music, keep doing what you love, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care. Click on the link below for 60% off his click on the link below for 60% off of his contemporary guitars pop. Click on the link below for 60% off on his Click on the link below for 60% off of his contemporary I can't talk right now. Click on the link below for his Click on the link below for 60% off of his Click on the link below for 60% off of his contemporary pop guitar sample pack.